Welcome to another episode of the Miles Offside podcast, where we talk a little bit of football and a whole lot of nothing. I am Oscar Puente, also known as Footy from Afar, and with me as always is my co-host Chuck Bailey.
Hey, what's up?
Chuck, long time no see, how are you?
I know, it's weird seeing you through Skype now after our meet up on our fair shores.
Ooh, well, I also meant we haven't potted in a while, so...
Oh yeah, it has been a while, hasn't it? Was that like 2 weeks?
Yep, 2 weeks of the Prem have gone by. We haven't really talked that much about it, at least not on the air, so we'll get to that today. But things are good, yeah?
Yeah, things looking very good. I've enjoyed Premier League being back in our lives.
Great. And with us, as always, on the other line, is super producer Ian Stimson. How's it going, Ian?
Yeah, very good. How are you?
Good. Tired. Bit jet-lagged.
Yeah, I'm sure. Enjoy your European excursions? Sure
did, especially when I got to meet you, find some fine, handsome gentlemen.
Yeah.
Yeah, good to have some face-to-face time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, you're even more handsome than I thought you'd be.
Yeah, Skype does crush down the video.
Yeah.
It takes away your radiance. A radiance that can't be perceived through screen format. We look good in that picture. Whoever took that picture, we look good.
Strong
Way
picture.
hotter than we're going to get some serious stalker action out of that, and it's fully undeserved.
Fully undeserved, that's a shame.
Well, hanging out with you guys did make clear to me that when we were hanging out with our better halves, that they really are our better halves. And we're just very lucky men to have them in our lives.
Yeah.
Punching.
Don't ever leave me.
Exactly.
Yeah, let's not pull at that thread, guys.
I think we're all just really grateful. Yeah. So, been a couple of weeks since we recorded. Happy to be back. Back from my adventures, back in the season, in the swing of things. As will be our format going forward for most of the year, we're going to run through a couple of rapid-fire news stories, a bit more of a deeper dive on the bigger matches that have happened, and then take a break, come back for some listener questions and a couple of odds and ends of business, and call it a week. How's that sound to you, boys?
Pow.
Sounds good.
So, starting us off with the rapid-fire news segment, Kevin De Bruyne has been ruled out for 3 months at City with a knee ligament injury. Chuck, is that going to completely derail their season?
Yeah, completely. They have just such a terrible team that they could never survive. Oh, no, fuck it. Absolutely not. Fair enough, they lose De Bruyne for 3 months, but fuck me, getting a player like De Bruyne back for when the Christmas schedule gets massively hectic. That's perfect, really.
Yeah, the ultimate January signing right there, basically.
Yeah.
He was, I think, the best player in the league last year. Would you agree with that?
Yep. Easily.
Yeah. Which just speaks volumes to City's talent, which we'll get into later, but that they can lose the best player of the league last season and they're just fine. They're totally fine.
Hell yes. Yeah.
All right, that's news story number 1. Moving on. Your boy, Wilfried Zaha, has signed a new contract at Spurs with a huge wage increase and an extension on his years. Are you excited about that?
As excited as new contracts mean anything nowadays. Usually that's just a bit of protection, and the amount of times you see so-and-so signed a massive new contract and then they're gone. So I think it just protects Palace a little bit and just shows that whatever happens, if he does go, then Palace kind of get the best deal out of it as well. But I can't see him going in January if he would. Potentially in the summer. But I think if Palace do well this year, and so far we've looked quite good and I've been quite happy, never know what could happen. If we somehow get into a Europa place like Burnley did this year, he could stay for another season. So maybe another season. I'd say he stays for this full season at least.
I agree with that. I think he'll be here for this year. I don't really see him staying past the summer, not necessarily because of European competition, but just because of his age. He's hitting that peak age, and so he's going to want to move on to, no offense, a bigger club. But I think that it is a very much win-win situation for them with the contract. He gets paid as much as he deserves to be getting paid for how good of a player he is. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure they put in place something like a release clause, right?
No release clause on the
release
contract.
Clause? Okay.
None.
Well, it still helps them out to make sure that they get how much they deserve.
Yeah, and it's a 5-year contract as well, which always boosts it.
Right, exactly. The earlier in the contract someone's trying to sign you, the more money you can demand.
Exactly.
So it's win-win. But I still don't see him staying for the full length of it. Moving on. Spurs venue has been delayed yet again. Some reports saying as far as 2019. Do we think they'll play there this year?
Nope.
Me neither. No, I just don't see it happening. They keep saying 1 week, 1 week, 1 week. Should they be refunding Spurs season tickets or compensating fans in any sort of way?
Yeah, they definitely should. I think it's a bit harsh, especially since they sold all of the tickets and said XYZ. And I believe they put their prices up this year as well because of the new stadium. Plus, you add on the fact that people will potentially not be as close to Wembley and it might be a bit more difficult.
And we do have one friend who is a Spurs season ticket holder, and he was saying that some people are actually paying more for worse seats because of the Wembley situation.
Yeah.
Because they got moved up and it ends up costing more, and that's not even including travel cost and all that. So I would imagine that the Spurs fan community is very upset, and rightly so. And especially given that their lack of spending in the transfer window was largely linked to the venue, and now the venue just keeps getting delayed and that situation keeps spiraling a bit. I'd be pretty furious if I was a Spurs fan.
But if you are a Spurs fan, get in touch with us on Twitter or Gmail, because we don't know the ins and outs of it. And if you've been screwed over in any way, it'd be interesting to hear from a Spurs fan about just how bad it is, or what you expect the situation to be, because we don't know, because we're not directly involved in that club. So
no. And are you just really upset because you don't get to go and try the VIP cheese room?
Well, I mean, yeah, exactly. I'm booking tickets. I don't give a shit if they play. I just want to go to the cheese room.
I want to see it. Is it being called? Do we know what the stadium's being called?
I'm sure they'll sell the naming rights to some financial institution or betting thing.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
You guys are finally catching on with that. American sports have been on that for a long time, but English sports are a little bit behind. It's such an obvious, easy revenue stream that no one actually cares about particularly.
The Camembert 365. Best I could do, sorry.
On such short notice, I'll take it.
Yeah, sorry.
And the last one I have on my rundown for the news stories. La Liga has signed a deal to play several games per season in the USA. Is that a good thing or a bad thing for those teams? Is that a good thing or a bad thing for the league?
Shit for everyone. Next.
Really? Shit for everyone? That's not what I thought you'd say.
No, it's shit for everyone. I don't agree with it, because I don't, just like when they were saying about the NFL teams playing, I think it was going to be the Jaguars playing a certain number of home games over at Wembley every year. Like, it's fucking shit. If you support that team and then can't go and see them because they've decided to tout it out, I think it's crap. And to be honest, I don't think fans in America will appreciate it as much, and a lot of true sports fans will actually think, oh, this is a bit weird.
Yeah.
That's just my take on it. I'd say if Palace started playing, if I had a Palace season ticket, which I don't because of my job, and I couldn't go to certain games because they were being played in the Far East, for example, I'd be absolutely fucking livid.
Yep, I think from the fan perspective, it's horrible. I think from the player perspective, it's horrible because they have to add in a bunch of travel. People complain about European ties. Now all of a sudden you have a quote-unquote home game being played across the ocean. I think from the team's perspective, it does make sense potentially to increase revenue and increase your fan base and try to reach out to people that way. And I think from the league perspective, there's an obvious appeal to trying to break into the U.S. market because we are heavily dominated by the Premier League as far as what teams or what leagues people watch here. But what they really should have done is try to negotiate a better TV deal as opposed to playing games here. Because I think the biggest reason that the Premier League is so big here is that all of the games are on TV. Just even thinking back to my own nascent days as a Premier League fan, like if it had been that the Bundesliga was the thing that was easy to watch, there's a real chance I'd be a Bayern Munich fan instead of a Chelsea fan.
Mm-hmm.
But the Premier League is the thing that was on TV every weekend, and so it was easy to watch games and end up picking Chelsea as my team. So it makes sense, but it's not the optimal strategy for increasing your fan base for the league and team, and it's really stupid from the fans' perspective. So I'd be pretty angry.
And let's face it, if it's Barcelona or Real Madrid or Atletico, which chances are it is, they don't need to increase their fucking exposure.
No, not at all.
Like, I get why some of the lower down teams in La Liga would, but do you really think Barcelona and Real need to raise their profile worldwide?
No, and they're already massively popular in the US even. The Premier League is the most watched league, but El Clasico is the most watched soccer match in any given season in the US. So, cool. That was pretty quick, actually. Rapid fire news stories were actually rapid fire. Love it.
I'll take it.
Yeah, Stimmers is happy about that. He's giggling in the background there. So let's go ahead and ruin Stimmer's day and now spend an hour talking about the matches.
The most convoluted, tying everything together with references that if he edits out even one bit, the whole Jenga tower of the podcast will just collapse.
Yeah. Intro, outro, see you later.
That is what my missus said to me today. She's like, "You're recording quite late, so please be quick." So I was like, "What should we do? Just go, football, goals, tackles. Next week, more football. Bye."
I'm very much keeping an eye on the timer because it's not late in the evening, but I'm super jet lagged, so my body thinks that it's like 11 p.m. right now or whatever. And I didn't sleep well at all last night, so. Anyway, I am keeping an eye on the timer. We are only 14 minutes into recording, which means you're probably about 5 minutes into your listening. And we will keep it moving along. So, topic number 1, team number 1 for this week. Manchester City have been dominant in their first 2 games. They look most likely to be repeating their title. They're odds-on favorites, I believe, at this point to win and retain. Is it the truth? Discuss.
That absolutely is the truth. Like, they have picked up exactly where they left off. And like, fair enough, they played an Arsenal team who are massively finding their feet and finding out what's going on. And then they played Huddersfield, who pretty much, as we all predicted, look like they're just going down. Because they looked god awful against City. And, they got that one lucky goal from a corner, but, they were leaving one man on Aguero. And from goal kicks, the goal that Edison assisted on in the second game, Aguero, well, he's not offside because you can't be from a goal kick, but he's like 10 yards behind the last Huddersfield defender. And he has no clue where he is.
Nope, he was the only person in their attacking box. And I'm like, how do you give Aguero that much space? Like, have you not heard of him before? Or what's the deal?
It's crazy. And even watching Arsenal, granted they were trying to play a new format under Emery, but all those guys have played against Man City. Like, they know what they're about. So they're playing that stupid high line. And, like, Aguero is just going to run behind.
Yeah.
And they're just going to get stretched, and it's mental. But City... They're just going to win the league again. That's it.
Okay, so I don't know that I agree with that necessarily. I do think they're the favorites, but a lot can happen between now and game week 38. And I do think there are other teams that will push them very far. Specifically, I'm thinking about Liverpool, because it's only been 2 matches, so don't actually take that much away from this. But if you look at the expected points table this early in the season, and again, that's a sample size is 2 games, so like this is bullshit. But it is indicative of at least a general idea. Liverpool are actually ahead of City in the expected points table. They're both on about 5.5, but Liverpool are at 5.5, City are at 5.4. And the reason for that being that Liverpool have looked fantastic in their 2 matches, and they've had less XG conceded and more XG generated. They've been against weaker opposition. I see you making faces over there, Chuck, and I know you're right. You're absolutely right. City are the better team. I'm not saying they're not, but I think that Liverpool have a legitimate chance to push them all the way to the end of the season.
Yeah, but you look at Liverpool, you look at the 2 teams City have played, and like obviously they played Arsenal, so that will hurt those kind of statistics. And then they played Huddersfield, who are the worst team in the league. But, well, maybe apart from Cardiff. But Liverpool played West Ham, who looked absolute fucking dog shit, and won 4-0. And to be honest, it's so hard to ever say these things and not sound like I'm being biased. But I don't think Liverpool were that good against Palace. The fact that they won from Salah bought that penalty completely. And then they couldn't really break them down until obviously there was the 10 men. And then they scored a breakaway goal, which could have not gone in. Obviously they had the XG and what have you. But, they didn't look like they were going to roll over Palace really at any point. And even when Palace were kind of down to 10 men. So I still don't know about Liverpool. A lot of people will be very hot on them because they are still super attacking and super fun. But the quality that City have everywhere and in even more depth, even though Liverpool have strengthened, I still just think they'll win the league.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing I would say to that is that Liverpool have improved enough in a bunch of different areas. Like, I heard the stat being bandied about that no one has kept more clean sheets than Virgil van Dijk. in 2018.
Yeah.
And so when he plays, Liverpool's defense is actually much better. Obviously, Alisson is a much, much better keeper than they had last season. And I do think that the investment in the midfield and the defense for Liverpool, while keeping the same attacking front three and not losing anybody, because they did lose Coutinho, and they easily could have lost Salah this summer to a Real Madrid or somebody, but they kept them, I think is going to genuinely, like, when City plays Liverpool, City will win, but Liverpool only needs to win against everyone else. You know, that's the classic Real Madrid-Barcelona. They both just beat everybody, and then it comes down to the last day of the season.
Yeah, you say it quite flippantly, but, you know, like, Liverpool just have to beat everyone else.
They can, though. That's what I'm saying. I think that they're good enough to do that.
Of course they can, but there's nothing in their previous seasons to make you believe, you know, they're still seen as a shaky team that will all of a sudden just lose out of anywhere for no real reason or capitulate. If you go on like past form and everything like that and what we've seen, City are just still a dominant force. No questions asked. And they will pick up points everywhere. They had their bit of luck, obviously, last season, where I think 3 games in a row, Raheem Sterling scored the winner in 90 plus minutes against Southampton, maybe Burnley, and I can't remember the other team. And they just have that quality and they have it everywhere. And watching, I don't know if you guys have watched it, the City documentary that's come out, All or Nothing, if you've had the chance yet.
No.
I've watched about 4 or 5 episodes and fuck me, it's impressive. It's such a good watch. You don't have to be a Man City fan to appreciate it and see.
No, I'm looking forward to it. I've just not watched it yet.
Yeah, really good. And Pep is so unbelievably passionate.
Yeah.
Like you not because of his English and English not being his first language, but you have to watch it with subtitles on because he's so passionate and so enthusiastic. It's like he's trying to get 6 sentences out of his mouth at once. And it's just crazy. Just absolutely crazy.
Nice. Yeah, that's definitely on my to-watch list. I'm excited to get a chance at that because I've heard really good things. Obviously, I'm playing a bit of devil's advocate here, right? Because it's not fun for all of us to just sit here and be like, yep, City are great. City are going to win. There's nothing to do. That makes for a very short podcast. But I do...
A very correct podcast, though.
Yeah, sure. But I don't think that that's completely disingenuous to say that there are other teams that can also push City to the last day of the season by just beating the majority of other games and other teams all the way through. I think that the top 3 teams this season are going to finish with very high points totals, and it's going to be, you know, very, very small margins as far as who wins the title.
So in terms of that, apart from Liverpool, do you see, going by, let's say, the other top teams and saying Chelsea and Arsenal, who are playing in a massively new way and kind of still a little bit of unknowns in the league, do you think those are the teams that could push?
Not Arsenal. Not Arsenal because they don't have the right players for the system. I think that was really evident in both of the matches, not just against City where they were genuinely bad, but also against Chelsea where they were better, but they still got outplayed, and I think Chelsea were a bit lucky, but they still overall deserved to win that match.
I think Chelsea rode their luck a lot because you look at the highlights from that game and you had Mkhitaryan, Aubameyang and Iwobi in a very short space of time in the first half, just skying the ball from pretty much the penalty spot.
Yeah.
And so it was possible in that game that it could have finished 5. It could have been 5-2 at half time. And actually, you know, speaking about that game, that was your first live experience at Chelsea, Oscar.
Yes, it was. Yeah, that was pretty amazing to be there.
Not bad, eh?
Fucking crazy. It was like the best day ever. But being there, the energy was just magical. Like, it was just a really, really, really amazing day.
No, that's pretty... You can't... I said to you at the time, like I texted you, you can't really ask for more. First time you see the team you support, it's at home, it's a derby, you see tons of goals and you win.
Yeah, it was great. And a late goal at that, right? 81st minute. Pretty awesome. But you talk about Chelsea riding their luck. They had more XG generated in that match. And especially in the second half, Arsenal only generated 0.1 XG in the entire second half. Chelsea just dominated the second half, especially after Hazard and Kovacic came on.
Yeah, you could tell the game changed after that.
And that was the first time, I think, for the last half hour or so of that match that Chelsea had their actual preferred 11 all out on the pitch at the same time. with a midfield of Kante, Jorginho, and Kovacic.
Is that the first time Kovacic's been on, is it?
Yeah, it was his debut.
Yeah.
And he was electric. He was 41 for 41, I believe, on passing, 100% pass completion rate, several successful take-ons. And just more than anything, like every time he was on the ball, you could see the other players moving around him. You could see it progressing and opening up space. I think he and Jorginho, alongside Kante in the midfield, could genuinely, like, I know I'm a Chelsea fan, and so everyone's going to think I'm overhyping them, but I heard the two Mikes on the Double Pivot podcast, Mike Goodman, Mike Haley, saying this, so I stand by this take because it's come from smarter people than me, that Chelsea could genuinely have the best central midfield in the world if those three guys gel as they could. And you saw glimpses of that. And then obviously Hazard coming on in place of Willian, who Willian is good, but like Hazard is light years above him. I don't think that's disrespectful to say in any way. And having Hazard and Alonso with a lot of freedom to move around because the midfield covers so much. And that was the winning goal. Just Hazard took out there was 8 Arsenal defenders in the box. And Hazard took them all out with a dribble and a pass and finds Alonso, and Alonso puts it away for a winner in the 81st minute. Like,
yeah,
I think Chelsea are starting to click sooner than anyone expected them to with the Sarri ball system. I think you could very clearly see in the last 15 minutes of the first half where if they don't do a good job with it, it will spectacularly fall apart because they just let Arsenal have chance after chance. They were pressing not quite as aggressively as they had been. When it does click, I think they could be up there with Liverpool and City and be the third team, quote unquote.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You say about it kind of failing. Do you think Chelsea, it's from a defensive kind of view that's where that's going to happen, and that potentially Chelsea could become Liverpool of the previous few seasons where just all they're trying to do is just outscore the other team?
Yeah, that's my fear / excitement as a fan, honestly, because it's been a few years since we saw a Chelsea team just go all out in attack. Because I think that is going to be what it is. Where they fail is going to be defensively. Sarri's system requires an insane amount of energy and running from everybody pressing, and so the moment they take the pedal off at all, you just get cut back, teams cutting into behind because it's a high line system. Kind of like Arsenal, actually. Arsenal look like what Chelsea could be if they do a terrible job. Arsenal have not looked good. They're pressing, but not well. They're playing a high line with slow center backs.
Yeah, that's horrible to watch. Like, they're just going to get caught out so much this season because it's not even playing the high line and defending from the front. It's like you need to have... You can't just have Bellerin as your fast guy back there.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't work. And he's not the best defender. He's super rapid, of course. And when you've got Arsenal, who you can question the work rate of some of the players they've got up there, namely Ozil.
And Mkhitaryan, for that matter.
Yeah, Mkhitaryan. That they're not those people that are going to really, really press from the front and take the pressure off of that back line who are advancing so much up. Similar, but not as bad, like I've seen from West Ham. West Ham so far this year look like they're really disjointed in that way, and it's like the forwards are playing one game and the defence are playing another.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, Callum Wilson's goal against them this week was appalling. Like, he just kind of jogs through 5 West Ham defenders and then nutmegs the keeper. Just embarrassing from that team. Just to drop in another team talking about there. West Ham looks shocking.
Yeah, I mean, we talked when we did our preview way back when of Chelsea maybe not having the right players for the Sarri system in certain positions, and they went out and basically signed the guys that they needed. Yeah. And it turns out Pedro is actually perfect for the right wing in the Sarri system, which I had no idea. That's really surprised me, but he's been a revelation. Like, he's been fantastic.
Yeah, him and also Kante playing more advanced as well, which makes sense. Which makes sense because he is probably one of the fittest guys in the Prem.
Yeah, he never gets tired.
He can just run and run and run and run and run. And the great thing with him is that he could press from the front and really push and kind of put pressure on defences or midfields deeper in the opposition half to give the chance for someone like Hazard to nick the ball off someone, or Kovacic as well, play it out wide, and then they can whip it in.
I can't even begin to convey how excited I was at watching Kovacic play that half hour in the stadium. It was electric. Every time he got on the ball, the stadium had a buzz around it, and you could feel everyone sort of tense up, ready to cheer that something good was about to happen. And he wanted the ball. The kid loves the ball at his feet, and I think that's going to help out Hazard so much.
He bloody loves balls.
But I think if Chelsea do have the right players for the system, and they are starting to click already, and so if I was the rest of the league, I would be afraid of that. Arsenal don't at all. At all.
No, they still haven't played. I mean, the only new signing who's really featured for them so far is Socrates.
Right.
They want to play out from the back, and Czech did that horrendous almost own goal.
Yeah, I saw that
for Arsenal, which is embarrassing, and was just playing wayward passes everywhere. And God bless him. You can't teach an old dog new tricks like that. And so I'm surprised that Leno hasn't been brought in already. Torreira as well should be in there. I always refer back to it, that famous interview with Troy Deeney, where he's very close to saying Arsenal had no fucking bollocks. But he catches himself. He catches himself mid-interview because it's live TV and goes no cojones. And because they did, they had nothing about them. You could just bully them and boss them about. Even these big guys. There was the goal Aguero in the FA Cup final, maybe, where he's more advanced than Mustafi, and Mustafi backs into him. Aguero leans back and just. Mustafi bounces off him looking for a foul, and Aguero runs in one-on-one and scores. And so that's what Arsenal really need. Aubameyang still looks good, but obviously hasn't really kicked off this season. But they've got a good run of fixtures coming up. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, they do. That's their only saving grace, really.
It's fuck, man. For Emery, you've got to feel for the guy. Like, it's so tough. Changing 20 years of habits or around a whole club or an ethic around the club. Trying to implement a system in just a few weeks, changing around a few players, and then your first two teams are the best team, one of the best teams in Europe, and Chelsea, who have got an incredible new manager, and exactly like you said, Oscar, are playing very exciting attacking football. So I think the first two games can be a bit of a gimme for them, and now you really need to see something from Arsenal. If they don't click this week against West Ham, especially as it's West Ham. That's a big, big warning sign for me.
Yeah, and I think you do give Arsenal a bit of a pass, given that their opponents were City and Chelsea. Those are really, really tough opponents. But the bigger concern to me is not that they lost, because you would kind of expect that, especially Chelsea at home and City just being City. But the way that they went about it and how much of a disjoint fit the players are for the system that they're trying to do. I love Petr Cech. I fucking love him. It was actually really cool to see in the stadium. He got a huge standing ovation when he came out for warm-ups and when they said his name in the Arsenal lineup. And this is a few seasons later. He's still a Chelsea legend and they're still clapping him on. Which, when you compare that to Cesc Fabregas getting booed at
it's fairly rare these days, yeah.
Yeah, but Chelsea fans, know how much he was to us. Yeah. And, when we won the Champions League, everything. He got a huge ovation.
I think as much of, how football fans can be, if you leave a team on good terms after you've done so much, then that always happens, and it is really nice.
And I think to bring it back to City, you look at when Pep Guardiola came in, their defense struggled that first season a whole lot. And you see the starting defense for City in these last two matches, transfer value, they're all new. They're all within the last couple of years they were bought by Guardiola. And you add up the value and it's 225 million, 250 million for their starting four defenders. Mendy was 50 plus. Stones was about 50. Kyle Walker was 70 or something. I don't even remember exactly what it was.
I think Kyle Walker was about 60. But fuck me, Mendy is worth every penny.
Yes, that's where I was going to go with this. You look at them and they spent so much money and it fits perfectly for what Pep Guardiola wants to do. And it is Benjamin Mendy adds a whole new dimension to them.
He's a new signing because obviously he was so injured for so long last year. Yeah. He started off and he looked great. And now he's had a whole year of being around the club, knowing what it's about, getting, all the stuff on Twitter is fantastic. And it just shows, it shows his character as well, but he's so settled. So settled there and he absolutely loves it. So he's really bought into Pep's system. And then for a year of being around that tactics, knowing what they're about, he can just come in. So he's effectively a new signing who instantly knows what the fuck he has to do.
Yeah.
Which is different to what, say, Arsenal have had and what Chelsea have had. Because they've had new signings come in with a change of manager.
Right.
And even if Sarri has worked with Jorginho before, Jorginho doesn't know what all of the Chelsea players are about and what they can do.
Right.
But fuck me, Mendy is just a beast on the left.
Well, and not only does he come in and fit harmoniously with everyone around him, but I think he genuinely adds a new dimension to City's attack that they did not have before. Because he is a fantastic crosser of the ball, and he can place it on a dime when the other teams are defending with a low block. So specifically when they have like 2 banks of 4 sitting deep saying, all right, hit us from distance or hit us with a cross. I think he is that cross that they were maybe lacking. Like De Bruyne can do that, but he was playing more centrally for them.
Yeah.
And Mendy just adds a whole different dimension. Like that's the most terrifying thing to me from watching these 2 City matches. Is that they might legitimately be better than they were last year, which is fucking crazy.
And all they've done is added Mahrez. Like that's effectively all they've done. They've added Mahrez.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, Mendy being sort of like a new signing.
Yeah.
Have you seen Mendy's heat maps for the 2 games?
Oh yeah, he is.
I haven't actually. No.
Stimmers, why don't you tell us about it?
I mean, he's hugging the corner flag. I mean, he's like unbelievable. It's so far forward, and yeah, I mean, he's like you say, he's been absolutely incredible.
Yeah. I mean, you said he puts those crosses on a dime, but he's hitting them first time and he's hitting them early, which attackers absolutely love, and I can tell you defenders hate. They hate that because you don't have time to set and know where the other players are, and think when they just whip that ball in. You know, for those playing fantasy football,
I was just going to mention that. Yeah,
he's incredible, and he ended up being given 2 assists this weekend.
He did. Yeah.
You had one where the ball bounced off and people were arguing about it, but I think effectively, if you look at it for him creating what happened, he basically had 4 assists. 4 of City's 6 goals, he made them.
Yeah.
So whether it was by
terrifying.
whipping in crosses early or just powering through people, like literally just
So
belligerently running through Huddersfield.
I know. And then when you think about the fact that
fantastic.
like Sterling and Sané haven't even really come in yet for City.
Yeah.
Well, he's keeping Sané out the team. Sané only got in Man City's team last year because Mendy was out and was playing as that left wing back in a 5.
Sane isn't going to get a look in if this carries on.
No, not at all. Like they're a terrifying team. I'm curious to see how it goes later when the Champions League and the FA Cup start coming in, because they're going to want to try to go for a treble. They're good enough that they should be aspiring for a treble. And anything less than that is not obviously a failure, but would be disappointing on some level to their hierarchy and even their fans.
They've wanted the Champions League for so long now.
Yeah.
Like the owners and stuff, and it's something that no matter how good the City team has been, they haven't achieved.
Yeah, it's about time and all, yeah.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if it's tough to call this because of how competitive they are and how they want to be and literally just want to win everything. But I wouldn't be surprised if they binned off the League Cup and the FA Cup this year and just went for League and Champions League.
Yeah, maybe. They very much remind me of Chelsea of 10 years ago, where they have spent an absurd amount of money on a coach and players to fit that coach's belief and system and style. And they've kind of done everything domestically that they want to. Chelsea kind of culminating 2010 with the League and FA Cup double. First time they had ever done that. And now they're eyeing Europe as like the big thing.
Hell yes. So contrasting to the other side of the city.
Yes, exactly what I was going to say. So, City are going to probably win, but United, oof.
Fuck me.
Oh boy.
Wow.
I mean, I'm just gonna say it. As a this weekend, like I am a staunch Palace fan, which means I hate Brighton, and I loved the fact that Brighton won. And I don't care what anyone thinks. Like I hate Brighton by birth, but I hate United and Mourinho by choice. And it's so fucking great just to see them not just. All that money, all that everything, the special one. Sorry, Oscar, to shit on your memories of Mourinho. But what the fuck?
It is sad to watch him now. Even like the second time around at Chelsea. Like that 14-15 team was dominant, but it's very much like watching an ex-girlfriend who just lost her mind afterward. Like you guys were together and you're like, we had good times, but now you're just a train wreck and like I can't even enjoy it.
Bitches be
It's like-
crazy.
Yeah, it's just really, really bad. Like, dude is like, you know who he is? He's Britney Spears when she shaved off her hair and attacked that car with the umbrella.
Fuck
Like,
yes.
that's what
Just
it's
be
looking
worried
like.
if you just be worried if you stop seeing Jose wearing short sleeves. Like if he starts wearing long sleeves, like people need to have a sit down talk with him because
Yeah, that's dark.
it's dark, but like everything about him, he just looks like a man who genuinely is just depressed.
Yeah.
Like even this week after the Brighton loss, he stood there and after all the slagging off he's done of his players and what have you, he stands there in the interview and goes, I'm not going to speak about my players when they play badly now. You want me to speak about them and say bad things. So I think I'll only say things when they do well or do this. So I prefer in this moment not to speak. You're like, but that in itself is you slagging off your players.
Yeah.
Because you're saying, I'm not going to say anything. It's like, my mum told me if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything.
Yeah, Pogba, and Ed Woodward have all done the same move in the last 2 weeks in the media. Because Pogba the week before came out and was like, they were like, what's your relationship like with Mourinho? And he was like, if I say what I want to say, I'll probably get fined. So, moving on. And it's like, and Woodward too, like, the three of them, it's just such a bad situation over there, man. Like, it's so bad. I fucking love it because I hate Manchester United so much.
Yeah.
They're the team I hate the most of any sports, like, even more than the Boston Red Sox because I grew up a Yankees fan. I am a Yankees fan, but, like, fuck Man United. And this is delightful. Like, they are so bad. And, like, just listening to Mourinho's press conference was like listening to Eeyore give a press conference with a Portuguese accent. Right? Yeah. Hi, boy. Okay. Like he's like so sad.
Like a mix between Eeyore and Snuffy from Sesame Street.
Yeah,
like just fucked. But it's not even just those three. Because have you seen the stuff that Pogba's agent came out with yesterday?
No, what did he say?
So he's on Twitter, and I can't remember exactly what he was talking about, but it's obviously something to do with Paul Scholes because he put on Twitter like Paul Scholes should become sports director and advise Woodward to sell Pogba. Would be sleepless nights to find Pogba a new club. Like,
Jesus Christ.
What the fuck does that even mean? Like, it's just everything is such just a colossal mess.
When someone's
there.
advocating for Paul Scholes to be in a position of power and making decisions with his brain, like that is just bad.
And Mourinho complaining like, oh, he doesn't have any good centre backs. He needed to buy centre backs. The two centre backs he played against Brighton, he bought.
Yeah,
he bought Lindelof and he bought Bailly. Like,
it's bad.
You're upset because you can't play Smalling and Jones. Like something's gone wrong.
Do we have him in the sack race in the lead right now? Is there any hope to turn it around there? Like,
I can't see it. There's no. I don't even think United fans have any positives. I'd like to know. Same as we asked about Spurs fans earlier. I'd love to hear from some United fans and find out like, what do you actually feel right now? Because, especially as it's such an alien time for United, most United fans, especially around our age, will only know United winning fucking everything. And now they have a depressed manager, an owner who's angry, players kicking off.
It's so bad. Like, I'm pulling up, but okay, let's try to come at it from the other angle though. Like, are there any positives?
They've actually got their own stadium, unlike Spurs.
Okay.
Well,
so I'm pulling up Kaylee graphics right now on Twitter, right? Against Brighton, they lost 3-2, but on rough XG sum, they actually had a better performance than Brighton did. It was 1.1 plus a penalty to 0.9 plus a penalty. Granted, that's basically a draw. That's basically 1-1 with one penalty to each.
Yeah.
But that's not like a complete and horrible loss. Like, and Pogba has looked better, I guess, than he did last year. Like, he's the captain. He scored a penalty. He's been out and about, moving around.
Yeah, speaking in a kind of news way, like a lot of people have been saying about Pogba leaving. I don't think Pogba will leave United.
No,
I think Mourinho will get gone.
He is easily the favourite based on the bookies I'm looking at here, closely followed by Rafa Benitez, but yeah.
Yeah, and Rafa Benitez, I said before, but Rafa Benitez will be like him going through choice. as opposed to actually getting sacked.
Yeah.
The 2005 Champions League semi-final weeps at that news. Remember when Liverpool and City
really
and Chelsea were like the two teams?
Yeah.
Man.
Hey, you called it earlier, like about Liverpool and Chelsea being the ones to push City. So, it's not far off those times. And at that time, there wasn't really as much like domination of one team. It's just, unfortunately, now with Chelsea and Liverpool being good, City are amazing.
Yeah, City are the best team. But
it drives the thing with that is it drives those clubs to get better players, and thus it makes the league more exciting. You saying earlier about it'd be a bit of a shit podcast, all just saying like Man City are going to win, but it means that all those other teams actually push and fight and go for it. So we get more excitement at all the ends of the table, and it's how many seasons in a row has it been? Well, end of the day, like last 2 weeks of the season, all we're looking at is who's going to get relegated, maybe.
Yeah.
The champions have already been done. And so creating that competition again, people bemoan the kind of top six or whatever, but this year I think it is a top three. You got City, Liverpool and Chelsea, and then next you got Arsenal, United and Spurs, who, like we said, haven't bought anyone, don't have the stadium, although they know Wembley better. I think they're going to suffer maybe around Christmas time, once the schedule gets really compacted and multiple games, international duty for a lot of their players, as we know.
Kane looks leggy.
Kane and Ali. I've heard a lot of people
I know
say
he
Ali's
scored,
looked
he
really
finally
good.
scored in August, but he looks tired, man. And it's like the second week of the season. Like that's not good for them.
He had no break. He came back from the World Cup. His kid was born. And then he came back to training, I think, 3 or 4 days before Spurs' first game.
I know. It's crazy. And you compare that to Hazard, who's played a total of 37 minutes, I think it is, between the two matches from the World Cup, or even more, overwhelmingly, if you look at the French league, which obviously had a lot of semifinalists and finalists, only one player has played, and it's only been a total of 7 minutes from anyone who was at a semifinal or later at the World Cup in Ligue 1. And then you look at the Spurs team, and they have been running out their guys, and England was there late. They played just as many games as France.
England, France, Belgium, that's their team. That's why they had Spurs. 9 people in the last 4. And it also, the not buying new players thing. It's not just about getting new people in and improving your first 11 by having starters. It's also about creating competition for those places and getting a bit of a rocket up your arse. Now, for someone like Hazard, he's got to prove it. It sounds weird to say this because I don't think he really does have to prove himself. But he has to prove himself to a new manager and also have all these new signings come in and just go, no, I know what I'm doing. I can do this with you and lead the way, represent Chelsea of the older years and drive these people on and know that there is competition for his space. Yeah, if you're playing for Spurs, there's no competition for the front four, really.
I guess
if you're Kane, Llorente's not fucking pushing you out. If you're Eriksen, you're not getting dropped. If you're Ali, you're not getting dropped.
Yeah.
So what does it matter?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Although the only silver lining or flip side of that is that they don't need the transition time that an Arsenal or a Chelsea do that we've been talking about. There's nothing new there. They know who they are, they know how to do it, and they do have 6 points from 2 matches.
Yeah, but they haven't looked great in those matches. I don't
disagree.
Felt that confident from them. The game against Newcastle, they easily could have lost.
Yeah.
Peterborough have just won their 4th league game with a last-minute penalty.
Oh, live update. Not live if you're actually listening to this. I got a live update. Yeah,
it'll be about 2 days late, but come on.
Can we talk about Peterborough? You just said 4th win on the row. Where are Peterborough in the league?
I do want to hear a little bit about Peterborough. Just give us the 5-minute scoop.
I can't give you 5 minutes. I've not been to a match yet.
The 60-second scoop.
Things Ian said on his wedding night. Boom!
Yeah, but so far, league-wise, 100% record. 4 games, 4 wins, top of the league. It's a lovely old job. But yeah, I'm hoping to get to a few more games in the coming months. But no, I haven't been to see them yet, so I can't give you any any sort of analysis. But yeah,
Have you
very
not?
happy with that so far. No, not yet. No,
Oh, it's a shame.
been a busy summer so far.
To be fair, I booked my ticket for the Palace game against Southampton next week, so
Yeah?
I'm happy about that. Yeah, I was a bit. Well, I wasn't even drunk actually. I was just sitting there and
I love how you're so surprised. You're like, actually, I wasn't even drunk.
I wasn't even drunk. No, this is leading into this that I sat on my computer and then, you have to buy membership to a club to buy a game. So like bought the membership and then bought the game ticket and sorted that out and then went to the club shop and I was like, oh, I'll get the shirt. And then I've got my daughter on the way. So I was like, I'm going to buy her first Palace kit now.
Nice.
So I spent about 130 quid sitting there at like 10:30 at night to get a Palace ticket and 2 shirts.
Dude, it was so dangerous. So for our match at Stamford Bridge, the easiest way, well, not the easiest way, but like one of the ways that was easier for us to get tickets was just to do the overnight hotel hospitality package because we figured we'd need a hotel in London anyway. That guarantees us tickets. It gets us good seats, so, all this other stuff, right? So we're staying at the hotel in the fucking stadium. Like, from our hotel room, we were watching the players drive away after the match, and all the fans, like, mob them. And we were just sitting, like, on our balcony being, like, sipping beers and just watching the players drive by. It was really fucking cool. But that also meant that we got early access to the club's store. And we just, like, it was so dangerous because we just went in there and we were like, let's just go see. Maybe they have something we like. Who knows? And then, like...
Is Chelsea's club store one of those massive mega stores?
Yeah,
you could be in there for like 20 hours and literally anything you can imagine, there is a Chelsea brand of it.
That is correct, and we own all of it. We own everything. I'm looking at a Chelsea wall clock. I bought a magnet. I bought a puffy winter coat. I bought a raincoat for when it's like a gilet, and etc. Anyway, so it was dangerous. We stayed.
What else did you buy?
We'll talk in.
What else did you buy, Oscar?
I didn't buy what you're referring to in the store. I bought it on the street after the match. But
and
Chuck
what
is very
was it you
angry
bought,
at me.
Oscar?
I bought one of those half and half scarves that says Chelsea v Arsenal, August 18 or whatever the date was, 2018, Stamford Bridge.
Yeah.
And apparently that's like, so talking of like English versus American culture and not knowing different things about each other, I guess that's a big taboo over there because the two of you were giving me so much shit on the group chat about buying a half and half scarf. I see nothing wrong with it, so.
Wow, would you buy an Arsenal shirt?
No, but I would buy a poster that says Chelsea versus Arsenal. And it's the same thing. I'm not going to wear the fucking scarf. I'm going to hang it up on my wall as a memento of the time I was at Stamford Bridge. Like,
got half an Arsenal scarf on your wall, mate. Just saying.
Oh dear.
Stimmers, where do you fall on this? Do you think half and half scarves are an abomination, or?
Yeah, I mean, you're everything that's wrong with the game.
Okay. Plastic fan.
You're the reason La Liga's doing their games away.
But, I mean, I am literally American.
Oh, literally, yeah.
I am the money that they want, so yes. No, it's a scarf about the match. It's not a scarf about the Arsenal team. Anyway. So on that note, that wraps it up for part 1. I think it seems like we're all still really strong on City. Not so much on Arsenal. Chelsea look good. United look like they're going to fire Mourinho at any minute. Peterborough are going to win the league at a romp. So
Canter.
Can I just give an honourable mention?
Yeah.
To a team. I think Fulham, even though they've lost both games, I think Fulham have looked great. I don't know if you guys have watched at all or seen any of their games, but against Palace, they looked really promising when they were attacking. And against Spurs, I thought they looked really good as well. I think that's a team that will do well this year. I'd be surprised if they went down now.
I haven't caught any of their matches, but from what I've read, they look pretty good. Though it does look like they were having trouble integrating Schürrle, I think, from what I read.
Yeah, well, just in general, they had so many. So when they played Palace the first game of the season, they had 7 new signings in their starting 11.
Yeah, that's
three of them were the defence, 1 goalkeeper as well. So, like with Arsenal, they'll have some bedding in time, but I don't really have any worries for Fulham this year.
Okay.
Just wanted to put that in there. And Burnley, I do worry about for the amount they're playing. And they're not looking great.
Yeah, they don't
scoring
goals. They're definitely not going to finish where they finished last season.
No, not so much.
All right, cool. So that'll wrap it up for part 1. We'll take a short break and we'll see you guys in a bit.
Welcome back to Miles Offside podcasts, where we've been talking about the last 2 weeks of fixtures. We had a little bit of a gap because our esteemed colleague Oscar, he went on a little bit of a European tour, and we actually got to meet up. For me, it was the 3rd time I've met you, twice at home, once away for me, and it was actually the first time that Oscar and Ian had met. Which is quite strange.
But next year we're going to do the fixtures in America.
Yeah,
yeah. You just
that is a good idea. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, it's good. I mean, it's a weird one because me and Oscar didn't actually speak until episode 1, and then we met after episode 10. So it was quite a weird way we've met each other, really, Oscar.
Yeah. On a scale of 1 to 10. With 10 being the first time, the excitement that you felt the first time you made love, and 1 being the inevitable disappointment that your partner felt on that night. How was it meeting up for the first time?
Well, when we made love, it was a 10.
I thought so too. Very gentle. Very, very gentle.
Feeling a bit left out, lads. Not going to lie.
Yeah, well, you two have had your moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
many moments.
and don't think we didn't see you watching from the corner there. No, it was quite fun. We all got together in London. We got a few drinks in the Covent Garden area. We went out to dinner. Chuck found a good restaurant for us, and we all just kind of like chatted about everything. Our beautiful and wonderful significant others were in tow, which really stole the show. Like the 3 of us just.
Yeah, I think for a little while they were a bit upset that we were all watching Man United Sunderland from like 1958 or something that was on in the corner at the Maple Leaf. It was like, yeah, I don't think they were too impressed with us being somehow glued to a black and white match.
Yeah, that was weird, wasn't it? It was like, it was on BBC Sport 2 or something, and they played like a Liverpool match from like the late 80s, early 90s. And then all of a sudden you turn around. Yeah, Liverpool Forest. And then it just switched to like Man United Sunderland.
But it was a hell of a match. I mean, and I had a $5 riding on the outcome, so.
But yeah, it was really fun to meet up, and we met up with a few of friends of ours who we'd known for a few years and played like fantasy football and draft with in a few places in centre of town. We got refused entry from somewhere because Oscar was wearing a football shirt. It was great. We got you got the full London experience.
You really did.
Yeah, all you needed was a bird pissing on your shoes and buying a kebab, and you were there.
But yeah, it was genuinely delightful hanging out with you guys and like seeing everybody, and just talking about our teams, talking about our lives. Like, it wasn't just World Cup and football and all that. I mean, obviously that was in there a lot, as well as more than a few drinks, which was pretty cool.
Yeah. So that was sandwiched in the middle of a trip to Paris for you.
Yeah, that's right.
And like, you saw some really cool places over there, obviously, because Paris is beautiful, and you had an incredible spreadsheet.
Yes.
schedule.
Oh, the spreadsheet was so beautiful.
That is incredible.
I messed up Ian's life because I showed his wife the spreadsheet, and she was like, "Oh, you need to plan our vacations this way."
Well, yeah, if I'm ever vacationing with her again, because she is incredibly organised as well. Our calendars are synced on our phones, so I have to do nothing other than look at my phone and turn up. And then we were talking to your wife, and it turns out she does exactly the same thing because you plan everything to the letter as well. And yeah, my wife thought your spreadsheet was a thing of beauty, and I thought, she's gone. I've lost her. I've totally lost her.
If by episode 1 was the first time you spoke, episode 10 was the same time you met.
Episode 100's my divorce.
Yeah. But so you had 2 days in London, right?
Yeah, I had 2 days in London and then 10 days in Paris.
One day meeting us, second day going to Chelsea. Which one?
Oh, that's
Don't
mean.
be ridiculous.
Chuck, that's an evil question. But no, it's Chelsea. Fuck you guys. Not even.
Yeah, weirdly, I'll accept that as the correct answer. And I'd say if it was meeting us, then you're a dick.
I mean, I did turn to my wife and I distinctly said, at the end of the match when Chelsea had just won and we were just kind of taking it all in the stadium. We lingered for about a half an hour until the people were like, "You need to leave. You can't just stay here."
Did they actually kick you out?
Yeah, they said, "All right, guys, you got to clear out," kind of thing.
Okay.
Because they needed to start cleaning and stuff. Like, we were literally like one of the last like couple hundred people in there, and it was all like the tourists who had never been before, taking pictures and just like sitting. But I turned to her as soon as the final whistle blew, and I said, "This has probably been the most magical night of my life." And she goes, "Oh yeah, not our wedding?" And I was like,
"And your response was?"
I said, "Oh no, of course." No, she knows what's up.
It's Chelsea.
Wow,
it's Chelsea. It's always Chelsea. I love her, but like, okay, that was a joke, obviously. But joking aside, like, you do build up to a wedding and you're so busy. Ian, you'll know this. Like, you're so running around like a madman on the night of that, like, it's such a haze. You don't particularly remember that much of it. And you just feel so like you're just moving along.
The date was in my calendar, so I just turned up. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's absolutely fine.
But that, like, I don't know. I took a nice moment to drink it all in. And, like, I sat and just looked around at the empty stadium and breathed deeply the air and was like, this is a moment. I will remember this for always. Awesome. And then I went out and bought a half and half scarf, so.
Yeah. You fucking prick. You had to ruin that.
Just spoiled your little anecdote there.
Ian, do you remember the first time you went to see Peterborough?
I do, because my dad was a Luton fan and he took me to see them because Luton were playing. So it was a case of, I can't remember when it was, but yeah, Luton were playing at Peterborough because we lived in Peterborough since when I was 2. So yeah, that's the first time he took me. It's a purely selfish way to watch his own team.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, but I think before that I'd probably been to Luton home games because he'd taken me to them. So yeah.
So how old were you when you went to your first game then?
I must have been about 6, probably.
Okay. Yeah, I think I was about the same, like when I went to my first Palace game. I think I was 5 or 6.
Do you come from a family of Palace fans, or?
So, my dad's a Palace fan. His dad is a Millwall fan because he used to play for Millwall, like through the youth system and stuff like that, and then had like a leg break. This is in like the 50s or so. Then, but on my mum's side, my uncle and my granddad are Palace fans. And my granddad at one point was not part of the board, but I'm sure he was something like quite high up to do with Palace. Like kind of part of like the chairman's or something like that.
Is this the same one that invented Twix?
No.
I was going to say.
Fuck off. No, he wasn't like director of the club because he used to be like a body...
Taking board meetings, munching on Twixes.
Yeah, exactly. Next thing he's going to tell us is that he invented the yo-yo.
Oh, we've upset him.
I wasn't going to mention that you kept shitting yourself in London, but now... Fucking prick.
All bets are off.
Yeah.
I did, for the record, listeners, I didn't shit myself. I had a stomach bug and I had to keep going to the bathroom every 5 minutes. But nothing happened in my pants. My clothes were perfectly clean by the end of the night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I was sick before we went to the Mexican restaurant, so it wasn't even that.
After you'd taken like 4 Imodium.
Oh my god.
You're never going to shit again.
It didn't stop anything.
The Imodium, they do nothing.
I told you that you were putting them in the wrong end.
They're not a suppository.
All right, and on that note, let's move on to some listener questions, yeah?
Yeah, you've heard enough about us. Let's hear from the outside world. The people who enable this shit.
Yeah, if you're still listening, yeah.
If you're still listening, in Ian's segment, what's going on?
I'll take the drop off in listeners, it's fine.
We'll transition from my bowel movements to the shit that's on Twitter.
God, Twitter's fucking horrible, isn't it? Oh.
But we love you guys. Thank you for listening and sending in your questions.
Cheers, guys.
Continue to do so.
Retweet.
Dear. We're really all over the place, aren't we? Losing all Twitter followers, losing all Man United fans.
All 12 of them.
Yeah.
So, we have had a couple. So, I like this one. Emily Drennan says, if your life depended on it, which current Premier League player would you choose to represent you in a fight to the death? No weapons allowed.
What? Why does everyone ask us questions about fighting and death and...
I don't know.
We do have a very violent listenership.
Yeah, I know. I'm really...
Is it after they listen or before?
I don't actually know. I mean, that sounds like a clear reference to Game of Thrones. Trial by combat, having a champion like the little one. Tyrion. Tyrion never fights his own trial by combats and stuff. Yes. Well, Michael Cayley, who is my favorite soccer writer, shout out to Michael Cayley, had this tweet to say one day ago, as of the time of recording. Quote, the entire point of Sorloth is trucking dudes in open field. Playing him as a penalty box striker and denying us the awe at his unitness is and should be punished as a war crime. To which I tweeted, does he score a perfect 100 for AUR, absolute unit rating, or is there someone who is more absolute and greater unit?
Oh my god.
And you look up a picture of this guy, he is terrifying looking. He looks like a
Surlot?
Pure Viking. Yeah, Sorloth?
I think it's pronounced Surlot. Fuck, I'm going to get this wrong now. That's like the Norwegian way of saying it.
He is Norwegian, so he has Viking blood in him. Right? He's descended of Vikings. He looks like he could play Thor in the next Marvel movie.
Mate, I said before, like, he's fucking Ivan Drago. Like, he's an absolute beast. Like, you see him play, and he's like 6'5". And after the Liverpool game yesterday, I heard him speak for the first time, and he is so well spoken. Like, his English is flawless. Like, that man gets women.
Good. Well, he also gets me as my pick for my champion in combat.
Oh, he'd be your champion? Oh, damn. Now I feel like I've lost out. Who could you go for? Someone that's like an absolute animal.
I mean, Jack Wilshere tried to bite Marwan Fellaini's nipple off one time. Do you remember that?
Jack Wilshere is just like... He's just a terrier in human form. Like, he'd like wind you up a bit and just yap, but never really be able to do anything. Fellaini wouldn't be bad, actually. Like, he's all elbows.
Yeah,
like, he'd bring the thunder. Too. Yeah, he is quite tall. Maybe Fellaini. And also because, like, he'd bring the hair close and no one would want to get in there.
That's true, and it adds cushion whenever someone tries to hit him on the head.
Yeah, and you don't know what you're going to find. Like, there might be, like, some woodland creatures, or, like, you know, just something, like, nestled in his hair.
Easy place to hide a shiv.
Yeah, like a supplementary attack, exactly. Just shank you with an afro comb. There's lots of afros in the Premier League now, like, damn.
Yeah, actually, Chelsea have a good amount of afros with David Luiz and Willian. Actually, David Luiz might be a good pick for this because he is out of his fucking mind. Like, he is the craziest human being.
He'd be like fucking Martin Riggs in Lethal Weapon. It's like you just don't know what he's going to do, and just at any one point.
Yeah, he's pure loose cannon. Like, he could... if you told me he had killed someone at some point, I'd be like, he seems really nice, but I guess that doesn't surprise me either.
Well, I haven't got anyone, but out of you two, I pulled up a picture, and Surlot looks vicious. I think it'd have to be my choice.
All right, Chuck, you hear that? You're dead now. You're off the pod.
This is bollocks. Not standing.
What, you're not happy, or you just don't think it's good?
No, I'm annoyed that I didn't get to pick first.
Well, I offered.
Didn't think of it to take fucking Dolph Lundgren prototype.
I was the gentleman, and I said, do you have anyone you want to pick?
He's going to be a destroyer. He's like 21. He's like 6'5", 8 foot wide. He's fast. Oh, God. He's just one of those people. I hope he does well. Anyway.
Well, Chuck, it's been nice knowing you, but my guy won, so clearly you have to die now, and we'll look for a replacement on Twitter for you.
Peace.
So if you want to replace Chuck, please write in at milesoffsidepod@gmail.com.
You don't have to do much. You don't have to do much, guys. Occasionally say things that Ian has to edit out.
Occasionally.
Give me some reason to use the bleep machine. We've got our usual Dave Mateo question of the week.
Yay! Dave's back.
Yay. So, it's a good one as well. I like this one. Is Benjamin Mendy better at being a fullback or better on Twitter? He's fucking great on Twitter.
He's incredible. Did you see the thing? There was a quote from Pep after the game, I think.
Yeah.
Where he said, what was it? Like, if we could just get Mendy to settle down and get him to concentrate more, he will be an incredible footballer and maybe stay off Twitter a bit. And the first response, this is from the Man City Twitter page, the first response afterwards was Benjamin Mendy saying, okay, guys, I'll try.
I will, I promise.
Fantastic.
He's great.
So good.
Like we said earlier, the guy just bought into that club and straight away, I don't know, maybe he just made the most of all of his injury time last year because he was out for like 6-7 months.
Yeah, he definitely had a lot of downtime on his hands.
And now we're finally seeing him as a fullback. And he's been incredible on Twitter. But like we said earlier, like he is an incredible left back. Just unreal.
Do you follow any Palace players on social media who are particularly entertaining?
Van Aanholt's good. Maybe it's a left back thing. Because Van Aanholt's good. And like he's just set up like this ridiculous fantasy league as well this year. Where like the prizes, the prizes are ridiculous. You get like 1,500 quid's worth of like prizes. You get like a new phone. You get to meet him. It'll let you shag his wife. Like all kinds of prizes. Like it's unreal. Really good of him.
Another one of Benjamin Mendy's, which I loved, was Carl Walker got some Golden Tweet Award for like ripping the piss out of Harry Maguire when he was like he's talking to his fiance over there.
I remember that.
So Carl Walker like ripped the piss out of him and got this Golden Tweet Award, and he tweeted about it saying like hashtag better than Mendy. And then Benjamin Mendy replied to him saying, ha, I'll leave you that one. I'll keep the World Cup. Hashtag it's coming home. Just like rinsing it.
And just you overlook the fact that Mendy didn't play in the World Cup. And you don't mind. You're just like, he claimed that. Take it.
Got him.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Well, I will say, as far as left backs and social media go, it's very, very good that social media wasn't a thing when Ashley Cole was at Chelsea. Because I'm sure he would have been very active, and I'm sure that would have been very bad.
Yeah. Would not have been good.
I'm picturing the Snapchat of him with the two youth players shooting each other with BB guns. Do you guys know that story?
Yeah.
He literally shot someone with a BB gun and like...
Not even a disciplinary.
I know.
Nah, it's alright.
Not a problem. Anyway, we'll get some of our favourite Benjamin Mendy tweets retweeted on the Twitter account once this goes out. But if you want to get in touch, we are at Miles Offside Pod on Twitter, milesoffsidepod@gmail.com on the email, and we're on Facebook as well as Miles Offside. So we'd love to hear from you. Yeah,
definitely. It's always good to get listener questions in, and we love interacting with you guys and hearing from you. Another thing that we're doing, as we mentioned a few times, is a little bit of a predictor league. So we've already got about 15, 16 entrants into it, and it's so simple. Like, it's free to enter. Send us a message with your predictions of the Premier League from position 1 to position 20. And there's going to be a prize. We'll work it out eventually.
We'll figure out a prize.
Yeah, so far the leading candidate for a prize is a gift card to the mega store of your given club.
Yeah. Should we just say it's that?
I'm fine with
that. Yeah, we could do.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. So whatever club you support, you'll get 50 quid to spend in their club shop. There you go. That's the prize. We decided on it. Bang. On air. Done. Live. Coming at ya. So those of you who are a bit like Johnny-come-latelys and want to wait and see of what's going on, league entrants are still available now. So we'll be keeping it open until the end of the international break, which is the 15th of September. Game week 5 for those of you who play fantasy football, which I'm sure there's plenty of you that do, because everyone does nowadays. So you can get your entries in then. After that, from that deadline, 11:30, 15th of September, we will close entrance to the league. And it's whoever gets the closest to the correct answer wins.
And Chuck, can listeners update their predictions up until game week 5 for those of us that have entered early?
No.
Okay. Because I have Man United at like 3rd, I think, and that's not going to happen.
You definitely can't edit. I spent a lot of time doing a spreadsheet, and I can't be fucked to edit the old ones now. So if you're in, you're locked in, deal with it. But also know that if you do enter right at that game week 5 deadline, that your victory will be a really hollow one if you win, and I won't be that proud of you.
Also, date of entry could be the tiebreaker.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, good call of it. Yeah, if you enter before someone who enters after you, because, you know, in a sort of linear time belief system, that is kind of how it works. You will win. So the earlier you'll get it...
Does Chuck think that time is a circle? Or...
There was definitely a simpler way to say that.
Yeah, I know, but I've been drinking again, guys. Let's not
Insofar as time progresses from present to future and time travel's not possible, then I guess we'll do it this way.
You don't know time travel isn't possible. Don't you step up here with your radical ideas.
Well, I invented time travel next week, so...
Good.
A little past tense joke for you there. Hey,
right. So if you finish on the same points, then the person who entered first wins. All right.
All right. You've had like 3 minutes to think of it, and it was your idea in the first place.
Yep. So that's the Predictor League. We also have a mini table draft competition that we started on the first day, just between the three of us. If you don't remember the format, I will remind everyone right now. Everyone picked 4 teams to represent them in this competition. We had a specific draft order to keep it fair between the three of us. And then we would keep track of the table points of those 4 teams, add them up over the course of the season, and see where we're at. So the official update as of the end of game week 2. In third place, I'll go backwards, is myself. I picked Chelsea, who have taken 6 points from 2 games. Man United, who have taken 3 points. And then West Ham and Fulham, who have not won any of their matches so far. Ooh. So I have 9 total points. Not looking so good.
That West Ham pick looks like a bunch of shit.
I know. I stand by it. They just need a little bit of transition time, but I stand by that pick.
Yeah?
Yeah, no.
But I have to, because they're my team now. In second place, on 13 points, so 4 ahead of me, although that's spread out over 4 teams, so that's kind of like 1 point in the regular table, is Chuck. He has Liverpool on 6 points, Palace on 3, Leicester also on 3, and Southampton with 1 point. But Leicester, I don't think looked that good going ahead because they lost Vardy, and he's like their only like legitimately good player left anymore. So
how many games is Vardy out for with that?
Vardy's has been deemed a reckless challenge, so it's 3 games.
Oh wow,
there it is. Yeah,
that's surprising.
And in first place, as expected, because he had the best 4 teams, is Stimmers. He has City, so perfect 6. Spurs, also a perfect 6 so far. Everton with 4 points, and Arsenal in 17th place with 0 points. But that adds up to 16, so yeah. But over the course of 1 week, you could easily lose 10 points in this, so it's still pretty tight. Early doors.
Good start, though. Like Peterborough.
Yeah. So that's our prediction games and stuff kind of covered. Let's look forward to this week because we'll get back on a weekly schedule now. Hopefully. No one's got any holiday booked, have they?
Nope.
No?
Yeah, I'm in Somerset next week, but I'm taking the laptop, so I'll record with you.
Commitment. I love it.
Yeah, there you go.
So let's look ahead to the weekend, boys. Saturday we start off with quite some good games, actually. They're quite interesting. We've got Wolves at home to Man City, Arsenal, West Ham, then Bournemouth, Everton, Huddersfield, Cardiff, Southampton, Leicester, and then the late game on Saturday is Liverpool, Brighton. Sunday, Watford, Palace, Fulham, Burnley, Newcastle, Chelsea, and then Monday, big Monday night football, Man United against Spurs. You'd never think you'd feel really underwhelmed by looking at that fixture, would you? But I kind of worry about what's going to happen in that one because, like we said earlier, Spurs have looked leggy and Man United are, United now.
Yeah, I just really want Spurs to just destroy United just for sheer drama of like what's going to happen in the press conferences afterwards.
Yeah.
Maybe Luke Shaw to get a red card. and be the reason that they lose. some sort of something horrible. But I do think Spurs will win that. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Spurs are at home, right?
No, Spurs are away. But I mean, when do Spurs ever play at home? Even if they do play at home, are they at home? Is Wembley a home? Yeah. Is the Camembert 365 home? Who knows?
Oh, I love you that you're trying to make that a thing. Thanks.
You're welcome. I'll make it a thing. Microbrewery. Oh yeah, there's a brewery. Oh, we didn't even mention that earlier when we spoke about the cheese room. That reminds me. There's a microbrewery in the stadium. Fuck, they're so hipster. Like, I used to live in that area and it's hipster as shit. But But yeah, like Man United lose that game.
Even at Old Trafford, do you think they'll lose?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you got to think, like, well, as we called earlier, it'd be great to hear from some United fans, but there's not going to be confidence going into the stadium. Like, they just lost to Brighton, who are not necessarily a solid team or someone that are guaranteed to stay up. I do really like Chris Hughton as a manager and think he's very clever. Yeah. And he's got some good results against Man United in the past. But Man United should never be losing that game. Ever.
No. No excuses at all.
No, absolutely. So, yeah, I don't see why United will
not by
will
letting
do well
in 3
here.
goals anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a difference between losing a 1-0 that they nick, but yeah, letting in 3 goals, it just should not be happening.
Yeah, exactly. And the 3-2 is only because of the penalty at the end, really, that makes them look good. Yeah. But any other fixtures that really stand out for you?
Well, let's take it back to the Saturday. Both City and Liverpool have really, really enticing fixtures there. Who is going to score more goals?
Well, Brighton, coming off the back of that United win, is whether they try and play a bit more solid in this game. And City and Wolves played each other last year in the Cup, and that went to penalties. I think that was at Molineux as well. Not 100% sure, but obviously they've changed the game. City score more goals. Just decided really quick. Yeah, Wolves for all of like the excitement that have been around them, and they've bought so many players, and they're all Portuguese and all new. Like, I worry for them more than Fulham, because I think they're going to go for the team that's like more all-out attack, than them staying solid. I think you've kind of got a good mix between the 3 promoted sides. I think Cardiff are going to stay really solid. They're going to play that boring, old-school English brand of football, that Tony Pulis, that Sam Allardyce. They're going to try and be solid from the back, play the long ball, and nick it that way. You've got Fulham, who I think are going to be a bit more balanced across the whole pitch, and Wolves, who are just going to try and go and outscore teams.
Stimmers, should I put my armband on Salah or on Aguero for fantasy?
Well, you're opening a can of worms here, because after saying last episode that I was going to go with 3 non-premium strikers, my experiment has failed massively, and I'm on a wild card this week, so desperate to get Aguero
in.
I'm assuming you're bringing them both in?
It's failed miserably. Yeah, I'll have Salah and Aguero.
So who are you putting the armband on?
At the minute, I've got it on Salah.
Okay, I do too.
Yeah,
I think Liverpool will score more goals than City. Put that down.
Oh god, I'm so happy I had the armband on Aguero this week.
I moved it at the last fucking minute to Salah. I mean, it was only an 11-point difference, but 11 points is a lot of points.
Yeah, and his ownership has shot up now. It was 20% before this week. It's now at 41.1.
Jesus.
Hello. Yep.
Yeah.
I got him in immediately.
Yeah.
Ian makes a 20% gap because he's kind of a big deal.
Big player. But yeah, I suppose I'll have to agree with you, Oscar. Then I'll go with Liverpool.
And last prediction for the weekend is Arsenal finally gonna get some points. Arsenal finally get some points? What's the correct verb there?
I've never known.
Is it going to happen? Then we'll work out. We'll work out if your statement is actually factually correct. Factually correct before we work on the grammar. Because they've got to.
They really do have to.
And then also West Ham as well, because they're losing the stadium, they're losing the fans, everything. They're already not bothered.
Where are they playing?
It's at the Emirates.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
It has to become a good thing. They have to force it. So I'd be incredibly surprised if Arsenal don't get a win here. And actually, potentially get, maybe in the same way that Oscar was saying earlier with Chelsea, is that you see them start to click quite a bit more here. I think this will be the game that they were building towards. I don't think they can, without being incredibly arrogant and a bit blindsided, really see City and Chelsea, City at home and Chelsea away as the games that are to start their season. That's just two things they had to get through. They had to solidify in certain ways, get through those games without any injuries. And now West Ham, this has to be where their season begins. If they don't get the win here, and potentially a big win, like there's going to be some anger and some hatred.
You reckon already?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. But I think West Ham are equally looking at this as an opportunity to finally get some points on the table and start gelling, because they also have a new manager and a bunch of new players. And it's a London derby. West Ham tend to have a pretty good record against other London teams. I could easily see West Ham pulling a result here.
Huddersfield, Cardiff, I think, is it possible for a game to have minus goals?
Oh, God. Well, I've got minus interest.
That's just a game. That's just a fixture. It makes me so sad that exists. Chelsea away to Newcastle is interesting. I like the look of that as a game as well.
Newcastle look dead on their feet. So I'm not...
Yeah.
And I think, hopefully, finally, this will be the week that Hazard starts instead of coming off the bench. And Kovacic, even if he doesn't start, will get more than 25 minutes at the end.
Yeah.
Actually, no, if he doesn't start, he'll probably get exactly that. But I'm excited, very excited to watch Chelsea this weekend. What about Palace?
Watford. Watford have looked good, but Watford's always seem... Is it just me, or do Watford always start the season strong? Every year?
Yeah, they do. Well, last year it all fell apart when they fired the coach.
Yeah.
And then Richarlison stopped scoring. But they looked good to start.
And they have looked good, and they scored a lot of goals against Burnley, where normally they're very tight in defence, but Burnley, they've got to be knackered at the minute. They've played 3 or 4 Europa League qualifying games already, and now they've got one more final one against Olympiacos to then find out if they are actually even in the Europa League. So the amount of competitive games they've played with a squad of their size is a little bit worrying, actually. Yeah. So I don't know how much you can read into that Watford win.
I'd put Palace down for a big win there. And on that note, I think that's a wrap on episode 11. So thank you everyone for joining us. Enjoy the matches this weekend, and we will be seeing you guys next week for episode 12.
Absolutely.
So that's going to be a good night from me and Chuck.
Yep.
And Stimmers.
Good night.
Bye, guys.
Bye.